Good evening, Internet. Welcome back to another night of talking about things for probably way too long. I'm that's Aldous in the background. And tonight we're going to be looking at the 2025 nominees for the Horror Game Awards. If you followed the Video Game Awards for basically any time at all, you might know that they have a massive blind spot towards horror games. And my understanding is that the Horror Game Awards exist to kind of fill this niche left by the Video Game Awards. So they have a whole bunch of categories here. We're just going to go through them. I probably won't have played many of them just because games cost money. But we will go through. I want to hear from you. What was your game of the year, for example? And so let's go through. First up, we've got the 2025 Game of the Year. This is the best horror game experience across all genres and technical fields. So first up, we've got Chronos: The New Dawn. Chronos: The New Dawn is the latest from Bloober Team. I'm not a huge Bloober Team fan. I've kind of fallen out of they've kind of fallen out of favor with me since the Blair Witch. I liked Observer. I think Observer was the last game that they made that I really loved. But after the Blair Witch, it was like really, really hard for me to give them a second chance. I heard bad things about The Medium. I've heard great things about Silent Hill 2 Remake, but I haven't picked it up myself yet. I haven't played Chronos. I haven't played Silent Hill 2 Remake. Though I think that Observer was probably the last game of theirs that I finished. So I haven't played it. I haven't watched it. I don't know anything about it. Dead Reset. This is a full motion video game. I've watched a little bit of the first 10, 20 minutes of it just to get the concept of it. The title character, this guy here, he is trapped in a time loop, and there is some kind of alien, and he is trying to escape the time loop and solve the mystery and just survive to the end, is my understanding of it. It looked really good. The production looked very good. It reminded me a lot of the Doctor Who during the David Tennant years, where it's got that schlocky feel to it, but the visuals are very well done. I haven't played it, so I don't really have an opinion on it. Doom: The Dark Ages. I loved Doom 2016. I loved Doom Eternal. I haven't played Doom: The Dark Ages just because of how expensive it is. I think that it came out at $70, and that was very high for my wallet. I have it on my wish list. I would love to play it. I've heard that you can ride a dragon in it, which sounds really fun. I'm looking forward to it immensely, but again, I don't know. Dying Light: The Beast. I played the first Dying Light a little bit. I never finished the first Dying Light. I've heard good things about Dying Light 2 and Dying Light: The Beast. Another one that I haven't played. I just watched John Wolfe, Hayden, Mr. Gigi, and Dom play through Escape the Backrooms. John has a 7-hour video on his channel. You can go check it out now. I think that it's extremely ambitious. It has dozens upon dozens of levels, each with their own gimmicks and mechanics. It's obviously a work of love. It's a labor of love. Whoever the devs are, they really liked the Backrooms. They really liked the mythology of the Backrooms, the infinite pools, the LiDAR thing, the suburbs, a whole bunch of levels of the Backrooms and the Backrooms mythos. They just loved it, and you can tell. However, it seems like it goes on way too long, and it seems like it doesn't have any satisfying endings. And I think that they have 5 endings for it. I am probably not going to play Escape the Backrooms. I do think that it would be fun to get a group together and maybe go through some of the levels. If any of you would be interested in doing that, please feel free to let me know. But I'm probably not going to be doing that solo. Heartworm. Heartworm is a survival horror game. I've heard very good things about it. I have not played it, but it is on my wish list, and I am looking forward to getting it and checking it out. Into the Dead, Our Darkest Days. I watched Mr. Craven play through this. My understanding is it was originally a mobile game. It's a zombie game. So you go through small sections where there are zombies and you kill all the zombies, and then you can use that section as a base, or you can take all of the resources from that station and take them back to your base. And you build up like a small community of survivors, and you have to manage those survivors. So you have to do things like, how am I going to feed everybody? What if somebody gets sick? Is there medicine? And so you go through these different zones until you find an escape route. And I think that one of them, I think the one that Craven got is the helicopter route. I don't remember it very well, but I would highly recommend, if you're into that kind of like base building, zombie game play aesthetic, storytelling, all of that. Into the Dead, Our Darkest Days. Into the Dead, Our Darkest Days is probably a good fit for you. Karma: The Dark World. I have heard the name. I know nothing about the gameplay. I know nothing about the game itself. I have not heard anything about it, good or bad. It feels very much like nothing to me, just because I don't know anything about it. Labyrinth of the Demon King. This is another one that I have on my wish list. It looks really good. It looks like a dungeon crawler. I think it's supposed to be a FromSoft inspired survival horror game. I'm really excited to play it, but I haven't been able to pick it up yet. I will definitely pick it up and go through it at some point. I just haven't yet. Look Outside. I played about 4 or 5 hours of this. I like it a lot. I thought that it wouldn't be a good fit for the channel because it's like incremental progress. Like you survive a day, you go downstairs, you find a monster, you die, you go back to wherever you saved last. So now you know that there's a monster there, you can avoid it. It seemed very incremental progress to me. I've heard a lot of people love it, and I love the art style. I really liked the writing. It seemed really interesting. I just didn't think that it was a good fit for the channel. Me Side or My Side, I don't know much about it. I've seen people making like images about the anime waifu, and I know that the anime waifu is kind of like the centerpiece of it. Other than that, I don't really know anything about it. No, I'm Not a Human. I haven't watched it. I played the demo at some point off YouTube. I never made a video about it. Played the demo at some point. It was in the violent horror stories anthology, something like that. Played the demo for it. Haven't played the main game for it. I know that it's like very big on YouTube. I would like to like pick it up and go through it at some point. I just haven't yet. Out of Sight. I think that this is the one where you see through the teddy bear's eyes, which is a really interesting mechanic. I haven't watched any playthroughs of it. I haven't played it myself. Repo is the first friend slop game on there. I have played a little bit of Repo. No, I haven't. I've watched a little bit of Repo. John Wolfe, Gab Smulders, Gary the Hot Cross Bun, and Sinnoh Beats. I've watched Easy Small play through it. I've watched a few people play through it on Discord. I own it. I just haven't gotten around to playing it yet. It seems like a lot of fun getting in and like stealing things, repossessing things, and then trying to get out before the monsters get you. I just haven't gotten around to playing it yet. Silent Hill F. Silent Hill F is one of the top videos I have ever made. Both the playthrough, the first video got an ungodly amount of views. And then the video essay that I made about it got an ungodly amount of views. Let me go look those up real quick. I can get you the real. So the first part of the playthrough got 28,000 views, which is the second most views I've ever gotten on my channel. And then A Tale of Two Silent Hills, the Silent Hill video essay, got 41,000 views, which is the most views I've ever gotten on my channel from a playthrough or video essay or anything like that. I think a couple of my undergrad Shakespeare stuff has gotten a little bit more than that. And I think a few of my concert recordings have gotten more than that. That's the most that I've ever gotten with one of my playthroughs. Skin Freak. I have seen this poster before. I've seen this thumbnail, but I have not played it. I understand that it's supposed to be a comedy horror game. I'd love to see what the fuss is about. Hopefully that it's good. But I'm kind of hesitant to do that because of this thumbnail and this poster for it. Let me know if it's good. Let me know if you want to see me play through it, and I can see if I can grab it. South of Midnight. This is a monster hunting game, I believe. I know that Chuds launched some kind of smear campaign around it when it first came out. And they were saying, oh, it's a field game, and the people who worked on it are woke. It's the woke agenda or whatever. I don't really care about those people. I thought that it looked fun, but I also thought that it looked like it wasn't in my wheelhouse. But if it's on the Horror Game Awards, maybe it's something that you guys would like to see me play. Let me know. I might check it out. I might not. But if it's fun, just let me know and I'll see if I can pick it up. And then Tormented Souls 2. This one surprises me because this one came out last month, or this month probably. So I just played through Tormented Souls 1 and I had mixed feelings about it. It was kind of a 6 out of 10 for me. A little bit better than mid, but still pretty mid. I've heard that Tormented Souls 2 is better. I've heard that it's a lot of fun. Let me know if you want to see my playthrough of Tormented Souls 2. Hopefully they've fixed the things that I had a problem with in the first game. And yeah. Let's see what the other categories are. Player's Choice Award. We've got Karma the Dark World again. Ludo. I haven't played this, but it is on my wish list. I've heard that this is kind of a mixture of the Stanley Parable mixed with PT. If you don't know what PT is, it was the playable teaser for Silent Hills that what's his name? Hideo Kojima. Hideo Kojima released a playable teaser for Silent Hills. It had Guillermo del Toro and Junji Ito connected to do the monsters and build out the atmosphere and the environment. And it had Norman Reedus as the main character. Apparently, whoever at Konami didn't like Kojima, when Kojima and Konami split on bad terms, Konami pulled all of the PT downloads from stores. So it was a big deal if you had a PlayStation that had PT on it. Like, people would pay thousands of dollars to get a PlayStation with PT on it, just so they could play through PT. You can play it today on Windows. There's a remake in Unity. I've heard it's not as good. I've heard that there are soft locks in it. But if you're wanting to play through PT yourself, that's a good way to do it. I have Ludo on my wish list. I would like to play through it at some point. I just haven't gotten to it yet. Most accessible horror game. Abiotic Factor. I know that this is a survival game. I haven't played this. I saw some people playing this on Discord. I think that it's a friend slop game, and since I tend to not play with other people, it would be hard for me to get into this. So I probably won't be playing that one on the channel. Doki Doki Literature Club screen reader mod. This appears to be a mod just for Doki Doki Literature Club. This doesn't appear to be a full game. I can play through. I don't want to. I can play through Doki Doki Literature Club on the channel. The thing is that I already know the twist behind it. So it would probably not be as fun for me or for you to watch through Doki Doki Literature Club. But it's something that I can do if you guys would like to see that. Heartworm again, and then Little Nightmares 3. I have heard awful things about Little Nightmares 3. I really enjoyed 1. I really enjoyed 2. So it kind of hurts a little bit to know that I've heard Little Nightmares 3 described as boring. I've heard it described as broken. I've heard that it's not good. I've just heard so many bad things about it. So let me know what you guys think about Little Nightmares 3. Is it worth it? Is it not worth it? What did they do? Like, why is it so poorly regarded when it just came out? Most anticipated horror game. Animal Use Protocol. I don't remember what that is. Is that a mutation game? It looks like a mutation game. I don't remember what that is. I know that I've seen the trailer for it at some point. I'm not super excited for that one, but maybe it'll surprise me. Maybe it'll be great. Bendy and the Ink Factory. This is the third Bendy's game. I haven't played the first two. I've seen gameplay of the first one. It looks like indie BioShock. I've heard that they get, because the first one was released episodically, it's like 5 chapters. I've heard that each chapter is a little bit less. So it starts off really strong, and then it gets a little bit less and less exciting as time goes on. I know that, is it Pasta? There's a YouTuber who said that Bendy is his favorite game of all time. I think that it might be Pasta, but I don't remember their name for sure. But I know that some people really like Bendy. I've just never been like really enticed with Bendy. Directive 8020, a Dark Pictures game. So let's talk about the Dark Pictures. The Dark Pictures were a Supermassive Games series with what was the narrator? There was like somebody who kept the anthology. The curator. The curator passed away recently, but the games were supposed to be like short vignettes with like loose ties to each other, in which you decided what the characters did when faced with a situation. And I've heard that like out of the first 5 of them, 1 is great, and the rest are not. I think that Supermassive has been pushing them out like really fast. And I think that it would probably be better if they took their time and made like an actual, like fully fleshed out game. And I don't think that the Dark Pictures games, the Dark Pictures anthologies, are where that's happening. So I'm not sure if this is another anthology game or if this is just connected to the Dark Pictures universe. It says a Dark Pictures game, so I'm not sure. But if they're like building it out and fleshing it out a little bit, I think that it might be fun. But I'm also like not super excited for it. Fatal Frame 2 Crimson Butterfly Remake. I am so excited for this one. I have not played this game since high school. I am looking forward to replaying it. The fact that they're going to release it on PC so that I don't need like, what was it released on, the Wii U or whatever? The fact that I can play it with like modern hardware and I don't need to get a console and I can just like throw it on and play it. Super exciting to me. And I love the Fatal Frame game loop. I love the combat system where you're using the camera to fight the ghosts. So good to me. And then the environments, the old Japanese village. There are a bunch of like hidden ghosts scattered around, so it really rewards you for like exploring and getting to go through and like figure out the different mysteries and figure out the different puzzles. So I'm really looking forward to Fatal Frame 2, Crimson Butterfly remake. I know that this is the second remake of it. I think that it got a port to the Wii U or something, but I don't have a Wii U. So this is something that I'll be able to play. Fears to Fathom, Scratch Creek. This is the second season of Fears to Fathom. I was kind of seeing the fractures in the formula at the end of the first Fears to Fathom season. I'm hoping that this one is going to be a little bit more mature. I think that Rail has had time to mature and has had time to look back over the criticisms and kind of what works and what doesn't work. So I'm very hopeful for this game. I really want to like this game. I don't want to hear eating sounds. I don't want to hear pissing sounds. I don't want to work what's it called? Minimum wage job. I am hoping that the game is going to be good, and that it kind of moves past kind of the trappings of the first season. Halloween. This is a multiplayer game, kind of a spin-off of Dead by Daylight. So Gun Media, they were involved in the what's it called? Texas Chainsaw Massacre game. My understanding is that they've taken on the Friday the 13th and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre games, and they've kind of like wrung a bunch of cash out of it and then kind of dipped. You can't really blame them for the Friday the 13th games because somebody called copyright on it, and they had like a bunch of costumes that they could use and a bunch of costumes that they couldn't use. And it eventually got to legal actions. So you can't really blame them for the Friday the 13th game. But they're kind of doing the same thing with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre game, where they released it, they let it run for about a year, and then they kind of said, okay, we're on to the next project. So I am interested in the Halloween game, the asymmetric Halloween game. However, I am scared for it as well because of Gun Media and IllFonic. Clive Barker's Hellraiser Revival. I've never played a Clive Barker game. I know that he's released a few games where he's done the writing and the imagery for it. I know that he's been involved in games in the past. I'm interested to see what Hellraiser Revival is like. I want to be like wowed by it in the same way that the first Hellraiser or the second Hellraiser is really wowing the first time you see it. Ill. I don't know anything about Ill. This thumbnail looks really generic. What is Ill? Tell me in the comments. Hideo Kojima, OD. One of the actors from the trailer in this passed away recently. So that's really sad. I know that it's supposed to be about a haunted house. I've seen the recent trailers. I saw the video capture trailer. It looks really interesting. I know that Hideo Kojima is really good at like twisting kind of how should I put it? Routine things and taking the normal, taking the ordinary, taking the routine and twisting it into really scary ways. The latest trailer looked really good. The main character goes in and is trying to light candles and perform this ritual. I just bumped the microphone. Light candles and perform this ritual to kind of banish the ghost from the house, and the door opens behind them, and it looks very good. I know that Kojima's writing is probably going to be all over the place in a fun way. and I am interested to see where it goes. I'm also hoping that it's not going to be anything like PT. Because we've had so many years of PT clones, I hope that it kind of like transcends into something else. Reanimal. Reanimal is from the original Little Nightmares devs. Let me make sure I've got that right, because I wanna be accurate. Yeah, so it's Tarsier Studios, but this time they are partnering with THQ Nordic. So it won't be Bandai Namco anymore. It looks very reminiscent of Little Nightmares. And so I'm excited because I'm hoping that they'll like inject new life into the formula after Little Nightmares 3. But it's one of those things where like I'm a little bit hesitant as well. Hopefully it'll be good. I'm looking forward to it. Resident Evil Requiem, I'm super excited for. You guys just saw me play through every mainline Resident Evil game and Code Veronica in order to prep for Resident Evil Requiem. I'm super excited. I want to see what the story is. I know that the rumors are that they were originally going to do an Outbreak remake, and then they're repurposing the Outbreak remake assets for Resident Evil Requiem. I want to see how that plays into the story. I want to see how the new protagonist is. I want to see if Leon comes back. I'm very excited for Resident Evil Requiem. I think that I'm more excited for Fatal Frame 2 Crimson Butterfly, but I am very excited for Resident Evil Requiem. Routine. This is a photorealistic space horror game where the character has retrofuturistic technology. I remember seeing the trailer for it years ago, and then I saw the recent trailer for it at one of the award shows, or one of the spotlight shows, not award shows. But I'm excited for this one. I want to see what it is, like where it goes, what's the story, what's going on with it. It reminds me right now just of like Alien and Alien Isolation. And I'm hoping that it can kind of capture the same feeling of those games. Silent Hill remake. You can probably guess by my earlier description of Bloober Team. I'm not super excited for it. I do want to replay the original Silent Hill 1 and 2. I'm not super excited for the remake. I am very excited to see what Silent Hill Townfall is about. This is from the devs who did, what's it called? Stories Untold. Stories Untold is the game I was thinking about. So No Code, they've rebranded as Screenburn. So they're doing Silent Hill Townfall. They released the trailer during the initial like Konami's we're releasing a bunch of Silent Hill games. During that showcase, Silent Hill Townfall looked really interesting, and it's been 4 years now. So I'm excited to see what have they been doing in the past 4 years. What's going on? I'm excited to see like what the art direction is. How is it different from Silent Hill F? I'm excited for it. Tenebrous Somnia. I watched Mr. Craven play the demo for this. If you haven't watched it yet, I would say that it's really worth either watching or playing the demo for yourself. But it has a really cool art direction where the main game is pixelated. It looks like an old, maybe Famicom era, like digital adventure game. And then it cuts into live action shots. And it looks really good. It looks like what they did with Faith, Tenebrous Somnia is doing, but more. And so I'm really excited for that one. The Coffin of Andy and Lele, episode 4. I don't really want to talk about that one. I watched Manly Badass Hero play the first 2 episodes of this. I thought that it was fine. The dev did not respond to criticisms of the game very well. I don't think that the dev is like pushing any of the things from the game, as some people have like indicated. But I do think that the dev has not particularly been very even-handed in their writing or in their response to the criticism. So I really don't have any sympathy for them. I don't think that the Coffin of Andy and Lily should be like kicked off Steam or anything like that. I think it's fine. It's edgy for edginess sake. But yeah, what do you guys want from me? I'm not going to play that on the channel, by the way. I'm just going to put that out there. Best performance. You don't know who any of these people are. Konatsu Kato. I think I recognize Scott Joseph, but I don't know where from. I don't know these people. Neil Newbon. I've heard that name. Lena Lazar. Is that a VTuber? Yeah. I don't know these people. You guys are going to have to fill me in on these people. Best narrative. 10 Dead Doves. This is actually how I found out about the Horror Game Awards. 10 Dead Doves, I played it earlier this year. It's really interesting in that it is like a surreal David Lynch, like on one hand, it's like very dangerous, very edgy, very like cutting. And on the other hand, it's like ridiculously absurd. I liked the storytelling of it. I liked the juxtaposition of like the absurdities, the typists, the characters being assholes, and also like the emotional journey of it, and the main character kind of realizing what's important in life, and coming through all of this danger and all of these trials and tribulations and becoming like a better person. I thought that the narrative was really strong. So I definitely see why they're on here. By Sweet Carol, I haven't played. I have heard that it's kind of disappointing in the third act. It's a clock tower type game, but it's done in the style of old Disney, which sounds very interesting. But I've heard that it's very disappointing in the like later half of the game up to the third act. Not very good. The dev behind it, I believe, has made some other Clock Tower likes. And I think that they were also disappointing in like the later acts. So it feels like one of those things where the dev just needs some like a team to recognize his vision and kind of smooth out the wrinkles. Cabernet. Did I buy this one? I did not. I have it on my wish list. This is a vampire game from my understanding. I think that it has some like Lovecraftian elements, but I haven't played it, so I can't talk about it. Clinical Trial. I'm very surprised to see this one on here. This is another one that I watched Manly Badass Hero play. It's a story about this guy who's administering a series of clinical trials, and this girl who is poor, neurodivergent, has experienced a lot of trauma in her life, and she's trying to go through these clinical trials in order to just make a buck. And they kind of develop a relationship, and things kind of go haywire from there. It's not a bad narrative. I think that it's a really good narrative, but it's an RPG Maker game, as you can see from the sprites. It's very small, very indie, not the kind of thing that you would usually see in this kind of list. So I'm really interested in seeing if it gets anything, because it's like really cool that this indie is up here against these things. Chronos, I've already talked about. Dead Reset, I've already talked about. Dying Light, The Beast, I've already talked about. Heartworm, I've already talked about. Karma, The Dark World, I've already talked about. Did I get Letters of Bernard Thorne? It's another one I have on my wish list. I've got too many games on my wish list. Letters of Bernard Thorne is a psychological horror game about a dad or a daughter. I'm not super familiar with the story. I have it on my wish list. Let me know if you would like to see me play it, and I can give you my feedback then. I've already talked about Look Outside. I've already talked about Ludo. I've already talked about No, I'm Not a Human. Poppy Playtime 4. Is this a joke? Why? What? What narrative does Poppy Playtime have? Isn't it just you go into a room and there's a puzzle and you do the puzzle and then you leave and there's like a mascot horror that waves at you and then there's another room? Isn't that the entire thing? Why is this here? Post-Trauma. This was a survival horror game about an old man who I think that it's implied that he killed some people in a drunk driving accident, but the game never says that. I haven't played this one. This is another one that I watched. Mr. Craven played through the whole thing. I don't remember much about it, but I think that it had kind of like the dreamlike storytelling, like what's it called? I'm Thinking of Ending It All. I'm Thinking of Ending Things is the movie name. It's got kind of like a dreamlike storytelling, like Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind or Synecdoche, New York, or one of the other like Charlie Kaufman-esque movies, but as a survival horror game. I remember the imagery being really interesting, but I don't remember the narrative being very interesting. Silent Hill F. I loved the narrative of that game. It's the strongest part of the game. If nothing else, like the story of Silent Hill F is great. I wish that the combat was better, but the narrative was great. I've already talked about Skin Freak. I've already talked about South of Midnight. Static Dread, The Lighthouse. This is another one that I have on my wish list and have not played. There's so many of these that I haven't played but are on my wish list. My understanding is that this is like Papers, Please, but as a Lovecraftian lighthouse keeper. The imagery had a lot of like tentacles. It's very green, but I haven't played it, so I don't know what it plays like. Suffocates. I've never even heard of this one. It looks like the little girl is in a fire, but I don't see what it's about, so I can't really comment on it. Siren's Rest. I have this one downloaded. I need to go through and play it. Still Wakes the Deep, Siren's Rest. I know that there's the main game and the DLC, and I haven't played either of them, so I should go through and do that. The Drifter, I haven't heard about. I don't know anything about that one. The Midnight Walk. I've heard really good things about the art direction and the art style of this one because it's done in kind of a claymation style. And so it has like an early Tim Burton-esque kind of aesthetic to it where everything is very exaggerated. Everything is very pronounced. I haven't heard anything about the narrative, so I'd be interested in playing through that one as well and seeing what the narrative is like. And then I've already talked about Tormented Souls 2. Best soundtrack. Death Stranding 2, On the Beach. I want to play this one because I loved Death Stranding 1, but I haven't yet. And it goes back to that, like, games are expensive. But I want to play through Death Stranding 2 very badly. I know that the music, it was a big high point of the first one, when you just like put the music on and you kind of zone in and you do a job and you get the likes and then you get the stars and then you get the items, all that stuff. I haven't heard the Death Stranding 2 soundtrack, but I would believe that it's very good. Dream Barbecue. I only played the first episode of this. It didn't really do very well, but I do remember the music being fairly good. It had a very good it had a very distinct sense of style. So the different animation techniques and the different character models and the different designs of it, all very distinct, all very strong personality. And so I think that like the music in that one was very good as well. I loved the Flesh Made Fear soundtrack. I just played through that recently. I thought that it had a really good integration into the game. What's his name? Victor's soundtrack, his theme song was really good. I definitely see Flesh Made Fear being like up there. Look Outside, I liked the music, but it was very like NES music, so I can see other people like not liking it as much. I think it works for the game, but it's not one of those things where I'm gonna like put on the Look Outside soundtrack and do work or whatever. I don't know what Slackjaw is. Have you guys played Slackjaw? Is that any good? Terrifier, the arcade game. I haven't played that one. I haven't seen anyone play that. Is that one any good? The Dead Seats. I've watched both Craven and John Wolfe play this. It's a back seat. You're a child in the back seat while your parents are driving, and you're playing a old Game Boy, like legally distinct Game Boy. And so the creature that's talking to you from the side of the road, it's like telling you to go out and find wood or whatever. And it goes into some really strange places. I don't remember the soundtrack being very distinctive, but I can definitely see like the songs and the way that they're presented within the game being very good. The Lacerator. I just watched Ecdysis play through the Lacerator. It's got a very like 70s inspired soundtrack, so I could see it like working for the game. I would definitely take like a Silent Hill F or Flesh Made Fear over that one though. I haven't heard anything about the Midnight Walk soundtrack. What is The New Flesh? That sounds like some David Cronenberg game. Yeah. Let me know what you guys think about the soundtrack, because if there's music that I'm missing out on, I want to be involved in it. No players online. I played through the demo of this on one of the Haunted PS1 demo discs. The full release is out now, so I'd like to play through the full release and see if they've added anything to it. Is it worth playing through the full release, or have I basically seen everything from the demo for it? Best art direction. Eclipsium is very good. I like that one a lot. I haven't played Karamara. I haven't heard of Karamara. Is Karamara worth checking out? Because it looks like it might be up my alley. Eyes of Hellfire is a game from Blumhouse Games, which is weird to say. Eyes of Hellfire is a game from Blumhouse Games. It's basically the board game Escape from House on the Hill. Is that what it's called? Betrayal at House on the Hill. It's basically the board game Betrayal at House on the Hill, but made into a video game. So there are like sanity mechanics, and there are shifting objectives for you to do. And so it's very very multiplayer focused. I could see Labyrinth of the Demon King getting this one. Necrophosis. I haven't heard of that one either. There's so many games I haven't heard of. Silent Hill F is very up there. The Alley, is that a new Chilla's Art game, or is that a different one that I've missed out on? The Lightkeeper. I've seen recently that the Lightkeeper, one, it's essentially the lighthouse. but also it uses AI art. And so I'm not going to check that one out. I'm putting my foot down. Like, I'm morally against AI art and generative AI and AI image generation. I don't want to check this out because, first off, really feels like they've like ripped somebody off, and second off, it really feels like they're ripping off multiple artists. So I'm not going to check that one out. I'm going to guess that this one is not going to win. Best indie horror game. Ooh, some of these look really interesting so far. So Clover Pit. This is a gambling-based horror game in which you are locked in a room and you have to win a bunch of money from a slot machine. Which sounds impossible. If you know anything about slot machines, you know that they're rigged to basically take as much money from you as possible. Clover Pit has Balatro style multipliers. It has relics that you can collect. It has things that you can do to increase your chances. And so I've heard really good things about it. I haven't played it myself yet, but I can definitely see like that one would be in the running. Dead Letter Department. I loved this game and it got no views on the channel. This is a game where you take a job as somebody collecting dead letters and trying to get them to their places. The letters that the computer can't recognize. And so you take damaged labels or whatever, you look at them, you write out what you can, and you try to do that as much as possible. The entire time, like, the atmosphere is suffocating. The music is really good. It's one of those games that just like gets under your skin. It's so good. I loved the demo. I loved the main game. And then nobody watched it, which was really sad. But yeah, I love that game. I hope that one gets something. Dead Reset, I've already talked about. Echoes of the Living. What is this? This looks like another zombie game. I've missed out on this one as well. I need to go wishlist all these games. Flesh Made Fear. I love that one a lot. It's definitely like, I would put it probably top 10 for the year. Five Nights at Freddy's Secret of the Mimic. I haven't played any of the Five Nights at Freddy's since Freddy's Pizzeria Simulator. If you're not aware, Scott Cawthon was the creator of Five Nights at Freddy's. He, a few years ago, somebody was looking at his financial donations to politicians, and he was giving the maximum amount of donations to a bunch of really bad people. People that were calling for the death of trans people, people that tried to overthrow the election, just a lot of shitheads. And when people called him out and said, "Hey, Scott Cawthon, it seems like you're really transphobic based on your political donations," he was like, "Look, I'm not a transphobe. Like, I've given trans people a lot of grace. I've given them a lot of money. I've invited them into my community. But America needs to be protected from invaders inside and out." Which is bad. I don't know if you guys are aware of my politics, but I think that that's extremely bad. I think that if you're willing to fuck over trans people because you want to punish people who are a different skin color than you, or who grew up in a different country than you, or anything like that, you're probably kind of a shithead. So Scott Cawthon was giving money to shitheads and is probably a shithead himself. So I haven't wanted to play any Five Nights at Freddy's games. And I don't want to like put that on the channel. I don't want to have that evil on me. So I haven't played any of that stuff. I know that the Five Nights at Freddy's like theory crafting is still a big thing on YouTube. I'm not saying nobody can do that or I want people canceled or anything like that. I'm just not going to support that myself. Cabin Factory. I feel like the Cabin Factory was 2023, but I could be wrong. I liked this one. It's very reminiscent of the original I'm on Observation Duty games and the Shinkansen Zero and other games of that type where you're hunting for anomalies and then you either say it's safe and the cabin goes forward, or you say it's not safe and the cabin gets incinerated or something. And there are ghosts of the main character's past that pop out. The main character is like one of the little children in the cabin. The whole thing is very like psychological horror based. And I think that it's a lot of fun to find the different anomalies, especially like in this confined space. My one criticism of it is that it ends on a cliffhanger. So if you go through and you get the true ending, it comes in and it says to be continued. So I wish that it was a full game. I am excited for the follow-up to the Cabin Factory to see what they do next. But it's not by itself a complete game. The Lacerator I've already talked about. The Lightkeeper I've already talked about. The Midnight Walk I've already talked about. The Other Side is another game that I don't recognize. I don't think I've seen this game at all. Let me know if this is a game worth checking out and I can look into it. Tormented Souls 2, I've already talked about. Vile Exhumed, I have not talked about yet. So I watched John Wolfe play this. I think that this might have been its own video. I'm not sure if this was its own video or if it was a multiple horror games in one video. But the dev behind this game, she was trying to capture that feeling of like grime or grit or dirt that the early like 2000s internet had. And so the main character is just a vile like piece of shit. And then he is teamed up with another vile piece of shit. And it's mostly told through like finding emails or finding files on a computer. It feels like going through just somebody who's not well's computer, and like piecing together what's going on. It's got that really like seedy feeling of like, I've got some good examples. It's got the same seedy feeling as like the movie series Creep, if you've ever seen that, or the Everyman Hybrid Video 24 Months. If you've seen those like early internet found footage, kind of like seediness, kind of the tension in your gut where you're like, oh, this is going to a bad place, isn't it? That's what Vile Exhumed is like. And it's very short. And I think it got delisted because of the themes it was dealing with. And so I think the dev is selling it as like a charity purchase. So if you buy Vile Exhumed, it goes towards domestic violence charity or something like that. Look into it. If it's the kind of game that you're interested in, I would highly recommend checking it out. And if you'd like to see me play it, I would love to check it out as well. Voices of the Void, I've seen a lot about this, but it's still a demo, so I don't want to play it. Voices of the Void is a game where I think you're trying to find communications from aliens using this satellite dish. But you've got this whole base to play around in, and it's a base that's like made for multiple people, but you're the only one there. And I think that you can like customize it a little bit. I've seen people with like posters or figurines, things like that. But it's still in early access. It's still in alpha. It's not a full game yet. So I would probably say it's not going to win Game of the Year because it's not a full game, but I might be wrong. Who's at the Door? This is another anomaly type game. This is also another game that has used generative AI. I believe that they only used it for posters, but it's still one of those things where it's like, I'm not going to play that one. But it looks really interesting. The main character is hallucinating. They have to go through and find out what's hallucination, what's not a hallucination. And then depending on whether they're hallucinating or not, it's safe to open the door. It's not safe to open the door. So those are the best indie horror games. Best multiplayer horror games. So, Backrooms Cleanup Crew. This is different from Escape the Backrooms. I've seen good things about this one. It seems like it's a Backrooms type take on the repo formula. So I haven't played it myself. I haven't played any of these. I played 700 hours of Dead by Daylight back in the day. But I haven't played Dead by Daylight recently. Dying Light the Beast, I've already talking about. Killing Floor 3. I can't believe they're still making those. I played some of Killing Floor 2. It's a zombie shooter. It's fun. It didn't really seem to have a whole lot of staying power. I guess that people are still playing it. Let me know if you'd like to play it together or if you would like to watch me try to play it solo queue. Little Nightmares, I've already talked about. Macabre, I have not heard anything about. The Outlash Trials, I have this one. I haven't played it yet. If you are interested in playing the Outlash Trials, please let me know. Phasmophobia, I loved Phasmophobia back in COVID era. I've heard that it's changed a lot. I saw the newest map has like a giant skeleton and it made me excited to play it again. But I asked people, hey, anybody down to play? And they were like, oh, we've got work, we've got stuff. And so I haven't had a chance to get back in and check out the new maps. Project Unknown. I know that name, but I don't remember much about the gameplay, which is probably not great sign. Project Unknown, I believe, is demons. And you're going in to like check out haunted houses and banish demons, maybe. I clearly don't know much about it. Repo I've already talked about. I'm excited to play through Repo at some point. Species Unknown, I believe, is a Among Us type game, but in 3D. I've already talked about the other side. I don't know anything about that. Whisper Mountain Outbreak, I think, is a infection Among Us type game based off of John Carpenter's The Thing. I might be mixing it up with another game. But it looked, from what I've seen of it, it looked really interesting. I haven't played that one either. No. I skipped VR horror game. Alien Rogue Incursion. I forgot that came out. Blackgate, Dread Meridian, Emissary Zero, Metro Awakening. I didn't know that this came out either. Madison VR, Phasmo Pools. This is one of the Backrooms games. The Break-In, Midnight Walk, Trenches VR, and Zona Origin. So I have a VR headset. Is Alien Rogue Incursion worth it? Should I check out Alien Rogue Incursion? Let me know in the comments if that's something I should be checking out. Horror Content Creator of the Year. Big Gaming 64, Queso, Lena Lazar, Markiplier, or Swole. Of these people, I know Lena Lazar's name. I've never actually seen any of her content. I know Queso. I've tried to watch Queso in the past. He doesn't really seem my speed. Every time I've tried to watch him, he'll just kind of be sitting there trying to figure out a puzzle. And it's just kind of very slow. I might just be catching him at bad times. I've only watched him on Twitch. Let me know if there's a Queso playthrough I should check out. And if you'll watch Queso, like what do you like about Queso? I know that they've got like Queso references in a bunch of the Andy horror games on itch. And I've always wondered, is it because he's big and you want to get your video game in front of him? Or is it because you really like him? Markiplier is classic. Even if he did cheat his Five Nights at Freddy's 2 1040 40-10 run. Markiplier's classic. He's down to earth. He's entertaining. He did the whole Unum Monum thing. I would probably, out of all of these five, I would probably say Markiplier goes. But I also don't watch Markiplier regularly, so I don't really know. I've never heard of Big Gaming 64, and I've never heard of Swole. Are these two creators I should check out, or what do you guys think? Best developer. Interesting. 616 Games. 616 Games makes a lot of like short horror games, sometimes based on Lovecraft, but they're usually just like short one shots, and he makes a lot of them. He takes the same models and he'll put them into different scenarios. So it's kind of like playing with dolls. But because they're the same models, he gets to save time on the models, and because they're usually like similar locations, if not the same locations, he gets to save time on making locations. So 616 Games just puts out games all the time. I haven't really played any of the 616 games. I know that they've got a collection out. Let me know if you'd like to see me check out that collection. Who is this? iHusto? iHusto made Me-Side and Umfend and Farwalk, games that I've seen in the past. I don't think I've played any of their stuff. Bloober Team I've already talked about. Broken Bird Games. It seems like Ludo is the only game that Broken Birds has done. Capcom, they did Resident Evil. They've done Dead Rising. They've got their horror games kind of on lockdown. Dark Machine. Dark Machine Games did White Knuckle. This is another one that I haven't played through, but that I have on my list. It's a climbing parkour game where the environment is falling beneath you as you go up. I know that it's got like a stamina meter and that it was kind of like passed around as a rage game a few months ago. I haven't played it myself, so I need to get around to that one. It seems like Devote Game has only made The Other Side. J.R. Hootapole. I'm guessing that that's the Demon King developer. Yeah, all they've done is the Labyrinth of the Demon King. Konami. Konami is famous for Silent Hill, obviously. I love Silent Hill F, so I'm hoping that Silent Hill Townfall is going to be good as well. However, Konami also greenlit Silent Hill Ascension, so not the greatest of track records. Neobards. So Neobards is a team that companies like Capcom and Konami like outsource development to. So you can see they've done Silent Hill F. They did Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster. Dynasty Warriors. I didn't know they had done Dynasty Warriors. Final Fantasy Rebirth, Reverse, Mega Man Collection. Is this the team that did the Resident Evil remakes? It looks like it. The RE Engine remakes. Marvel's Avengers. Onimusha Warlords. I played through a little bit of this recently just for nostalgia's sake. Devil May Cry Collection. I played through the first game a couple years ago. And Resistance. RIP Resistance. Yeah. They've got a lot of hits under their belts. Night Dive Studios. So Night Dive Studios is another one where they take older games and they refurbish them for Steam or for GOG or whatever so that people can play older games. So like System Shock 2 is coming out, Blood, Refresh Supply, Heretic and Hexen. The Thing Remastered. I had negative things to say about The Thing Remastered. I Have No Mouth and I'm a Scream, Dark Forces, Turok, Rise of the Triad, Blade Runner, Shadow Man, System Shock, Doom and Doom 2, Quake. Yeah. They've got a lot of good games under their belts. Red Barrels. So Red Barrels are the guys behind the Outlast Trials. I assume that they've also done the Outlast games. So the first Outlast game being like incredible, and then the second one being kind of like slightly subpar. And then I've heard a lot of good things about the Outlast Trials. Scythe Dev Team, they are a indie studio. They were part of Dread X. I've played a bunch of their games in the Dread X collections. What did they release this year? So Deep Cuts, which I haven't played. Happy's Humble Burger Farm. I own this one. I can play this one. Return to Northbury Grove. I don't think I've even heard of this one. I should wishlist that one. All right. So it looks like Happy's Humble Burger Farm, Northbury Grove, and then Deep Cuts. Interesting. Superlou Games is the developer behind Finding Frankie. This is a horror parkour first-person survival game. I have this on my wish list. I have not played it yet. It looks like a lot of fun. I just haven't gotten around to it. Supermassive Games we've already talked about. Tainted Pact Games. So Tainted Pact made Flesh Made Fear. They made Massacre at the Mirage. Manny's Murderous Movie Theater, a snack bar simulator. Terror at Oakhart. Weeping Falls Massacre, and Exsanguinate. I really liked Flesh Made Fear. If you guys would like to see me play through some of their older games, I would definitely be down for that. I would be interested in like going back to the start and playing through them in order and see how they've evolved, if that's something that you would be interested in. Trio Skaz is the developer behind No, I'm Not a Human, Violent Horror Stories, Violent Horror Stories 2, End of Despair, which I've never even heard of, Self Polis, which appears to be a choose your own adventure story, and Lost in the Roots, which is coming out soon. I should add that one because it looks like it's up my alley. So Trio Skaz, Valco Studios. So Valco Games made Labyrinthine, which I own this, and Cryo, which appears to be an escape room simulator. So both of these are multiplayer games, I believe. But yeah, these two games are for Valco Studios. I don't know what this one is. How do you read this? Is it Device Studio? So that is the logo for Wales Interactive. I would not have gotten that from that logo. But they did Hazard Levels, Heart of the Forest, Made of Skur. I have Made of Skur. I should play through that at some point as well. Dead Reset, which we've talked about. Choo Choo Charles, which I've played on the channel. The Skur Ritual, which I think is a sequel to Made of Skur. Anything else? So there's Made of Skur and Skur Ritual. I've heard about this. I don't think that this is horror. I think that it's supposed to be a comedy. But if you would be interested in seeing this one, let me know. Nightbook looked really interesting. It's an FMV game about a haunted book, which I think that that would be good for the channel at some point. Yeah. So that's Wales Interactive. And then Wrong Organ is the dev behind Mouthwashing and the Katamari Damacy game that I played. How Fish is Made. So Mouthwashing and How Fish is Made. So who would I give it to? I'm not sure. Developer of the Year? I would have to think on that one. It might be Scythe Dev Team, or maybe Wrong Organ. Best indie developer. So this is the same things, but just indie. Black Eyed Priest, I've played a couple of his games, I think. So it looks like he's got Bloodwash, Night at the Gates of Hell, and Sniper Killer. And I've played Bloodwash on the channel before. I haven't played Night at the Gates of Hell, and I haven't played Sniper Killer. But I enjoyed Bloodwash for what it was. Broken Bird, we've already talked about. Camel 101. Don't know about that one. So there's a lot of games that Camel 101 has done. Beneath, Those Who Remain, Syndrome, Mechs and Mercs, Gemini Wars, and it looks like some mobile games, casino likes, casual games, whatever. I don't know that I've played any of their games, so I'm not sure what to say about them. Chilla's Arts, I've played have I only played 3 of their games? I feel like I've played more of their games. I like Chilla's Art a lot. They have really interesting atmosphere, and their games are always kind of like a good reflection of like living in Japan and feeling isolated and not knowing who you can trust and things like that. I find Chilla's Art a lot more compelling than someone like Rail, even though they're in the same kind of niche. Dark Phobia Games, let's find out what they've done. So, Dark Phobia Games. I started watching Gab Smulders play Amenti, and about 10 or 15 minutes into it, the person in the game starts talking about ancient aliens. And the Lightkeeper, I've already talked about how it uses AI art. I feel really bad about, like, I would feel really bad playing any of these games. I don't think I'm ever going to play any of their games. So I would feel pretty bad about like talking about them. But these really don't look good to me. Homeless, Amenti, the Lightkeeper, all of them have that AI art thumbnail. Just really doesn't feel good. Dual Effect. So I'm not really sure what's going on with Steam, but when you click on Dual Effect, it takes you to the P-Cube store page, P-Cube being the publisher, Dual Effect being the developer. But Dual Effect did Tormented Souls and Tormented Souls 2. And so that is who they're referring to here. Emika Games. So it looks like I haven't played any Emika games, but I am familiar with them from Twitch and YouTube. So these are short horror games where it's usually one person like going through a series of trials. I believe that they're Unreal developers. And so the environments always look very good. There's usually some kind of monster like a clown or some kind of ghost. They're very short horror experiences. And I believe that they all are like in the same universe. So September 7th, April 24th, Father's Day, these are all different events that have happened within the same world. So I haven't played any of them myself. I need to go through and do that, it looks like. Because it looks like they've got a lot of games. But I feel like the games themselves are usually very self-contained and very very straightforward. Final Girl Games. So Final Girl Games is the developer behind Vile, which I've already talked about. It looks like there's also Attachment Not Found and Mary, which I haven't played. I should go through and do Mary at some point. It looks like it might be interesting. Let me know if you'd like to see me do Mary and Attachment Not Found. That looks so early internet. Look at that. Francis Kalum, Look Outside Dev. Hunter Allen. It looks like Hunter Allen has an itch.io page. I don't think I've played any of his games though. Claustrophobia Nights. Is this a FNAF fan game? Yeah. So it seems like he's a FNAF fan developer. So I assume that that's why he's on the list. J.R. Hootapole, we've already talked about. Little Sewing Machine. So this is the studio behind By Sweet Carol. It looks like they've got a couple films coming up. Interesting. Mangled Maw. So this is the developer behind the Amanda the Adventurer series. I enjoyed all three Amanda the Adventurer games. I had an issue with the second game where I ran into a game-breaking bug, wasn't able to proceed, and so I had to look it up. And then I felt like a couple of the puzzles were too hard. But I really enjoyed the first one, and I really enjoyed the third one. And in spite of the puzzles being hard and the game-breaking bug, I felt like Amanda the Adventurer 2 was well worth it. Moonglint. I don't know that name. All right, so it seems like Moonglint is the developer of Echoes of the Living. This just came out on Halloween. I hadn't heard about it before. I'm going to go ahead and add this to my wish list. Let me know if you guys would like to see Echoes of the Living. Mr. Dr. Knows is the developer behind Voices of the Void. I've talked about this one already. It looks like he did a Mr. Baldi's Basics in Education. Looks like he did a spin-off for Advanced Education with Victor Strabowski. And then another one with Alex Basics in Biology and Zoology Remastered. I feel like I've seen this somewhere, but I don't remember where. How many of these are there? Night Signal Entertainment. So Night Signal Entertainment did Home Safety Hotline, which I've played on the channel and liked. They also did Night Signal, which I'm guessing is where their name comes from. I think I bought this at some point, but I haven't played through it yet. Let me know if you'd be interested in that one. And then Please Insert Disc. I haven't even heard about this one. Y2K Tech Horror. Panic Arcade. Panic Arcade is the developer behind Clover Pit. I've already talked about Clover Pit, so I don't need to do that again. What is Yellow Taxi Goes Vroom? Is that a horror game, or is that like a Crazy Taxi Light, or what? Let me know about that one. Porch Weather Games. So Porch Weather Games is the developer behind Station Zeta, which looks like a very cute, very retro action puzzle platformer. I don't know why they're included in the Horror Game Awards. Maybe there's something that I don't know about them. But yeah. Puppet Combo. Puppet Combo has made a lot of games, and I haven't played a lot of them, but I have played a few. I enjoy their visual style. They're usually like retro games, in the sense that they're using like VHS filters, or some kind of puzzle affiliated with like old arcade games or things like that. They have a very distinct style. One of my problems with their early games is that they tend to be very, very quiet, loud noises. And so I haven't played a lot of their games just because I'm not like interested in that kind of style. What have I played of theirs? I've played Stay Out of the House, and I think I started Murder House but never finished it. And then I've got Christmas Massacre, so we can play that for Christmas coming up. I had to sit down because my feet were starting to hurt. Red Soul Games. Seems like Red Soul Games did Post Trauma. Semi-Work. Semi-Work are the devs behind Repo, and it looks like Voidigo. I think I might have Voidigo. I do have Void to Go. I think that I got this in a bundle. I don't think I sought this one out. Serafini Productions. So Serafini Productions are the devs behind the Broken Lore games. So Broken Lore Low, Broken Lore Follow, Broken Lore Unfollow. I recently did none of these. I did Ghost Frequency, which I think is from the same developers, but they're actually listed under a different company. But if you look the store page, they're repping Broken Lore. So I think that they're connected. I don't know that for sure. Softstar. So Softstar is the developer behind Junji Ito Maniac and Infinite Jail. This is another game that has AI in it. Where is it? AI generated content. Small number of textures and descriptive text were based on AI generated content and then appropriately refined by hand to produce the final assets. I still feel really iffy about it. I don't really want to play it. I was really excited because I saw a Junji Ito game and I was like, I want to play that one. And then I saw the AI software or the AI generative AI disclosure. And so I was like, I'm not really interested in it anymore. I know that the Bridge Curse and the Bridge Curse 2 were both well received. So I think that if you are interested, I could go back and play the Bridge Curse games. But I'm also not super interested in supporting Softstar. Tainted Pact Games. We've already talked about Tainted Pact. Tarsier Studios. So Tarsier is the developer behind Reanimal. TheMeatly.com. The Meatly is the dev behind Bendy, it looks like. And we've already talked about Trio Skas, and we've already talked about Vincent and Dinolfi, it looks like. So those are the indie developers. There are a lot of them. I would say Chilla's Art would probably be top of the list for me. Francis Colum, I could see. Mangled Maw, I could see. Yeah. Puppet Combo, I could definitely see. Yeah. Tell me who's your best indie developer? Best indie developer, Technical Achievement Award. Flesh Made Fear, Look Outside, Ludo, The Outlast Trials, Repo, Silent Hill F, The Midnight Walk, and Tormented Souls 2. I would definitely say that Look Outside has a good chance at it, just from the technical achievement. Flesh Made Fear, I would definitely put up there. Repo, I would definitely put up there. I wouldn't put Silent Hill F up there just because it's a large development company, and they like made the most of the space that they had. But it's not as much of an achievement for like a large team like Konami or Neobards to put together such a like beautiful environment as it is to someone like Look Outside dev. The Alice Trials I could definitely see, and then Tormented Souls 2, if they like kept the same mechanisms from the first game and they iterated on them, I could definitely see that as well. And then Midnight Walk, I haven't played it yet myself, so I don't know this for myself, but from what I've heard and from what I've seen, that has a chance as well. So I could see Look Outside would probably be my top choice for that. And then Flesh Made Fear, Repo, and Tormented Souls 2 maybe. Lifetime Achievement Award. Oh, there's a bunch of them. Sam Lake. I've already talked about Scott Cawthon. I like Hideo Kojima a lot. He's goofy. He's serious. He has a lot of like really interesting ideas. I would watch any movie that Hideo Kojima made. I think that his encyclopedic knowledge is really helpful when he writes a game like Metal Gear Solid or a game like Death Stranding. He really goes into all of the little details, into all of the little pieces to make sure that everything fits together. It's playing a Hideo Kojima game is an experience. Sometimes it's a frustrating experience. I did definitely get very frustrated at the Metal Gear Solid games and the way that they have a game feel that seems awful sometimes and then amazing the next. And I don't know how he's meshed them together. But yeah, he's just everything he does is just such an experience. And that's part of why I'm excited for OD. Keiichiro Toyama. Keiichiro Toyama was the dev behind Silent Hill 1 and one of the members of Team Silent. And he was the creator of the Siren series. He recently did another one called Slitterhead, I believe. Let me check that. Yeah, he was the director of Slitterhead. So going back to Silent Hill and the Team Silent games, just incredible output from that team. Incredible output. You can tell from the Team Silent games that they love horror movies. And so when they went to make a game, they like took those visuals, they like took the Jacob's Ladders, they like took the Psychos, all of that. And they really, just took all of that creativity and they like molded something important. And just the first 4 Silent Hill games, are really something special. I've never played the Siren games. I've heard that the first one is very frustrating to play, but that the story is worth it. I watched a couple video essays about the Siren games recently, and they seem really good. Like not to play, but as far as like story and experiences, like I was talking about with Kojima, I really appreciate just the creativity that went into Siren, and making it into a distinctly Japanese horror game, and just the encompassing of all of the different horror tropes, both on the Western horror movies and the distinctly Japanese horror tropes, and molding them into something interesting and something exciting, right? I've heard bad things about Slitterhead. I know that it was not received very, very well. I think that might be a problem of Toyama, where he has like ambitions for, I'm going to build out this world, and this world is going to be like a horror world. And then once you actually scale it out from its original point, it's no longer scary. But I do appreciate his creativity, and I appreciate his vision and all that stuff. Puppet Combo. We've talked about them a little bit. Puppet Combo was super prolific when they first came out, and they were making money on Patreon, just selling like short horror games. The early games, the style, not really my style, but their direction, they're making movies now. The kind of like reinvigoration of the indie horror scene. I think that was all very important, and I think that Puppet Combo had like a really good hand in pushing indie horror towards where it is now, and kind of making things interesting, and making things more down to earth and grounded, and still inspired by the old horror movies. So working in a small gas station or something and having people coming in and out and not knowing who's friend or who's foe, or one of their games, I think it's Glass Staircase, where it's the little girl in the orphanage and she doesn't know who her friends are and who her enemies are. And taking those kind of like isolating factors and ramping them up to 10. I think that really was just a shot in the arm for the indie horror scene. Ryukishio 7. I've only played Silent Hill F. I haven't played Umineko. I haven't played Higurashi. So I can't speak to his lifetime achievements. I appreciated his writing, and I know that a lot of other people appreciate his writing in the Umineko and Higurashi games. I hope to see more of him, and with Silent Hill F, I hope that this is kind of a springboard for like more people in the West to get to experience him and get to read him. Sam Lake. I love Sam Lake so much. I recently played through all of the Remedy games, all of the Alan Wake universe Remedy games. I haven't played through Quantum Break. I haven't played through what's it called? Max Payne. I love Sam Lake. I love his vision. I love how goofy he is. I love how incredibly detailed his worlds are. I love how interconnected his worlds are. I love how ambitious his worlds are. Him and Kojima are friends and they have cameos. Kojima has a cameo in Control PlayStation Edition. Sam Lake has a cameo in Death Stranding. I love that they're such like personalities. It's so great to see them just like having fun with making games. With Sam Lake, I'm always worried about him because I know that apparently Alan Wake 2 sold incredibly well, and also like barely broke even. And so like, I'm always worried about him. Like, is this going to be the last Alan Wake game? Is this going to be the last Control game? And I just really want more from Sam Lake. I really want more of his writing. I really want more of his characters. I really want just like more of his output. And I'm looking forward to whatever he does next. Let me look up Shinji Mikami real quick, because I want to be accurate with this. So Shinji Mikami did Resident Evil, the first one. He did Dino Crisis, the first one. And he did The Evil Within, the first one. He is, I think, just an incredible director. I don't always like agree with his writing decisions, but I think that he has a decent like vision for what he wants. I really appreciate just Resident Evil 1, like taking all of the stuff from, what was the original, Home Sweet Home, taking all the things that work from it and amping them up with the American action movie heroes and the monsters, and making sure that everything is clearly visible on screen. I talked about him a little bit in my Resident Evil video essay, and I appreciate Dino Crisis. Dino Crisis was probably my first survival horror game when I was a kid. I got it when it was multiple discs on the PC, and I played it on my dad's PC. And I remember it being like multiple discs and having to switch out the discs at the midway point. And then I got frustrated at one of the puzzles near the end because I was like, I'm doing it right. Why isn't it taking it? Just nostalgia for me is the Dino Crisis. The Evil Within, I have problems with The Evil Within. Mostly that it doesn't explain anything. But also that's kind of the point of it, is that it doesn't explain anything. I enjoy the concept of it once you know what's going on. But the spending most of the game, oh no, we're being attacked by monsters. Oh no, we're being attacked by different monsters. Oh no, we're being attacked by another monster. Got a little bit old for me. But there are so many like good sequences in that too. Like when you're running from the butcher man, when you're trying to protect your teammate while the tank is filling up with water. There are a lot of good sequences in it, and I appreciate that it doesn't just like lean on the Resident Evil formula or anything like that. He actually is trying to do things that are interesting and new. And then I don't recognize any of these other names. I'm going to look through real quick and make sure that I don't recognize these people. And then I'll be right back. So I do have something to say about Thomas Grip. Thomas Grip is the one of the developers at Frictional Games. Frictional Games did Amnesia: The Dark Descent and the Penumbra games. And the Soma. So they have been around in the horror scene for a long time. I know that they originally developed the Penumbra games as like a physics engine that they could play around in, kind of like Half-Life. And then they used that engine. They developed that further into the Amnesia engine, which they used for Amnesia: The Dark Descent, Amnesia: Machine for Pigs, Amnesia: Rebirth, and Amnesia: The Bunker. So they're now 4 games deep with Amnesia, and I haven't played A Machine for Pigs, but I enjoyed the other 3. The Dark Descent is a classic. It almost single-handedly like developed the indie horror game space in the early 2010s, and the just having that platform to stand on is so important for where indie horror is today. The Frictional Games is really just like the bedrock that a bunch of indie devs stand on. Soma is a masterpiece. I have so many good things to say about it. It's not a traditional like fight monsters kind of game. It's much more solve puzzles while being pursued by monsters. And there's the underwater sections, the ending, so many good things. Thomas Grip, I don't know what his individual contribution is, but Frictional Games as an establishment is just so valuable to the space and so valuable to the environment that we're building. And so, yeah, that's what I've got to say about Thomas Grip. I don't want to like snub Al Yang. It's just that I only know him from Silent Hill. I don't want to snub JT Petty or Kim McCaskill or Mike Mika or Zeekers or any of these other people. I've already talked about Scott Cawthon. Yeah, I just don't know them very well, is what I'll say. All right, that's all on this webpage. What did I get right? What did I get wrong? What do I need to brush up on? What do I need to know? What don't I need to know? Yeah, get at me in the comments. Tell me what you guys think. I'm going to get out of here. I'm very tired. Thank you for joining me for another night of talking about things for probably way too long. I will see you in the next video. I love you. Thank you. Good night.